I know even me now giving this interview, there's going to be opportunistic opponents of mine coming out and conveniently cutting clips and saying, oh, look at him, he's anti-Islamic and that. And it's not the case. I'm just saying bad behaviour is bad behaviour for you. I don't care whether you're Islamic, Catholic, Jewish, wherever, and it won't be tolerated across the board.
When we opened up and you told us that diversity is like essentially one of the great things of your council, what about diversity? And then you went on to say that you don't think diversity is really working at the moment, and I tend to agree. Like, I personally enjoy in Melbourne. I grew up in in a Jewish neighborhood, but then I moved when I was a teenager to around Murrumbina, Oakley area, which is a very Greek area, and it's on one hand it really it's kind of an enclave that you almost feel like you're in Greece. They're playing their Greek music, especially back in the days, and you've got your Greek food and you've got neighborhood, but it's super safe and everyone's loving, and it's kind of a blend between Greece and Australia, and they're contributing. So I can see where that kind of diversity is great, but I don't think diversity is great for the sake of diversity, because then you look at, I don't know about Cumberland City Council, but I know some of your neighbourhood, we saw what happened yesterday outside that school. I don't think it's in your council.
It is. It is your ward. Council. It's in the heart of my ward.
There you go. So clearly diversity. In the heart of my ward. So diversity is not working in your own council. So when you say the diversity is good, what is it about the diversity that you think is good?
No, look, what I meant was, like, and I speak for myself. I go down the street and, I'm born in Australia, an Australian man of Greek Cypriot background. I have my Lebanese mates, and, we all go and we have a drink together, we hang out together, we're very tight. I have my Greek mates, my Maltese mates. That's very good, okay? Now, I don't care what religion they're from, but there's a part of the world, there's a part of our society, not just in Cumberland, but in other local government areas as well, the 2% that aren't assimilating. And it's very concerning. People need to be able to feel safe in their local area, and we shouldn't hold extremist beliefs. And when we hold extremist beliefs, this is not the Australia that we know and love. And if you want to hold those views, like, you should reconsider your place here and maybe go and live in a country where they share those views, because it concerns me. I grew up in this country, and millions of others of Australians did. We went to school, we sang the national anthem every day. We were proud to be Australians. You never forget your background or your parents' background. You respect that. You hold that in high regard. But when I see the protests that are happening of late and how unsafe a lot of people are feeling, this is not Australia, and it's not right. And I'm sorry, I blame the Labor government for this. They are very, very weak, and they have encouraged this both at state and federal level, but in particular at federal level, because if they clamped down on it and were strict in the laws that they brought forward, people wouldn't feel as free to go out and openly intimidate people.
I feel like for people that have come to this country as immigrants and stuff and are kind of more radicalized or extreme in certain views, seeing your country in Australia have things like, oh, well, it's been colonized, we don't recognize it doesn't exist, we've never ceded sovereignty, and these kind of chants. And you see this, you see the same thing echo at the pro-Palestinian marches, for instance, where they're saying the same thing, standing next to Aboriginal leaders, for instance, in that community that share that same view. So it all kind of interacts with each other and creates this environment in this country where we don't really have this set identity, even though we should as Australians. It is always muddied by these things like welcome to country, you don't belong here, and all these kind of things. It's crazy, like, to think that there's these different layers of what an Australian is based on, or what an Australian isn't. It's insane that this is a country that we live in, and we're still very successful as a nation, but we have this massive thing hanging over our heads, like the sword of Damocles almost. It's always there, like, who are you?
I agree with you 100%. And, we're losing our national identity in this country. Kids are going to school today and they're being shamed, to not be proud to be Australian. They're being told that, the Indigenous had their land stolen and we should constantly say sorry. And, and it feeds off to other areas where people are protesting and being extreme. At the end of the day, we're all Australians. Love this country. Love where we're from. Leave your extremism back in the country that you left it. If you want that kind of life and that kind of culture, feel free to go over there and make a contribution there, but don't bring hate here. I don't care what part of the world you're from.
As a councillor, do you spend time in though, or you said at one point you were mayor or deputy mayor? Did you spend time going
Mayor,
to?
I was mayor.
You're mayor. Did you go to Granville Boys High? Like, do you go there as part of
No,
your duty?
look, I didn't go to Granville Boys High. I live 5 minutes down the road from there,
Yeah.
and before that, I used to live literally a 30-second walk from there.
Yeah.
In early 2000s, and look, I know the population of the school, and to be honest, it used to have a very bad reputation. It's now a very good school, but what I saw yesterday was very disappointing. I don't know what went wrong, but where's the education department in all this? Like,
Well, that, I
I
think that it's wild to me that in a public school, that is a publicly funded school, that
yeah,
you've got this happening and you've got teachers leading the way in this. And I only spent about 20 minutes researching that school prior to filing a report today, because it has a long rap sheet of extremists that come out of that particular school. And how are we not all over this? How's the government, the state government or the local government? It's less of a council issue. I think it's more of a state government issue. But how are they not all over this? How has it even got to a point where you've got youth support workers that are publicly supporting, pretty horrific sentiments, and then you've got, kids that seem to be potentially on the edge of being either already radicalized or going to be radicalized in a public school system. It's not an Islamic school. It's not. It's literally a government funded school. Everybody that works, including the youth worker who's in question, who's been told to work from home now, including him, they're all funded by the New South Wales taxpayers. So how do you get to a point that that's happening, especially when you can see that there is such a long history of it?
soft. Oh, look, it's soft and weak politicians. I think both Labor and Liberal state governments have gone, in particular Labor, have gone very soft on these kind of issues. Now, where was the local state member for Granville to call this stuff out? Where is I believe she's a parliamentary secretary to the state leader, Chris Minns. They should be calling this stuff out. The state premier should be banging his fist and demanding the leaders of the education department come to his office for a thorough dressing down and positions be reviewed. Like, this isn't an attack on a particular nationality or religion. This is just a reality. It's not acceptable in any form, no matter where you're from. Now, these events need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed for the future, no matter who does them. And I know, even me now giving this interview, there's going to be opportunistic opponents of mine coming out and conveniently cutting clips and saying, "Oh, look at him, he's anti-Islamic and that." And it's not the case. I'm just saying bad behaviour is bad behaviour for you. I don't care whether you're Islamic, Catholic, Jewish, wherever, and it won't be tolerated across the board.
Do locals there feel safe that are not a part of that radical group that's in that society? Like, are locals in that area, do they feel this? Because I can see from the comments from people that comment on our work that are local, they say that this has been a problem for many years, and they've either
Locals are used to it. Okay. Unfortunately, locals are used to it.
Well, I just don't think we should stand for any ideology in Australia
right.
that that hates us, that hates Australia. When I say us, I'm talking about Australia and fellow Australians. Like, and what we're seeing unfold there and in Bankstown, in those areas, is a lot of this is coming to the surface. It's clearly been there, and with that particular school, there's several kids previously that have joined ISIS from that school. Like, this is not something new. And I agree with you. The state government, the state Labor government, all the Labor representatives in that area are too scared to say anything. You can see that, and probably for the reasons that you're saying now. I think you're particularly brave that you're willing to even talk about it, because I can see they will never. In fact, you saw Jason Clare, which is
he's my federal member.
You're a federal member, so Bankstown falls under his area. He didn't say anything when this global story had you know, was making waves, not just in Bankstown, not just in New South Wales, not just in Australia, around the world, didn't say a word. And then weeks later, when a couple of Muslim women were attacked in Melbourne and people rightfully condemned it, they said it was Islamophobic. It turned out to be a Turkish Muslim woman. So I don't think it was actually Islamophobic, but and he jumped on that within minutes to condemn it. And I'm not an idiot. I know why he's doing that. He's doing it because he's speaking to his voter base. And if you allow that politics to grow, that's going to come out of your area. That's going to grow beyond there.
I agree. Look, I agree, but I'll also tell you, and there's no excuses for this, Jason is facing a very heavily funded campaign by Islamic Vote Matters endorsed candidate out here, a gentleman on my council, Councillor Ahmed. So, you know, personally, I don't agree with staying silent when something's wrong. Something is wrong, and my morals and my conviction is you can't sell out your country for the sake of keeping a seat in Parliament. And I'm not saying Jason's doing this. I'm just speaking on behalf of myself. Like when something's wrong,
I think the whole Labor Party
wrong.
is doing it. I think the Labor Party is doing that on a grand scale around the country.
That's what it feels like.
Look at the immigration nonsense we had the other day, where they've inducted like 12,000 immigration inductees, and we had all the Labor MPs invited, and the Liberals and the Independent Lee wasn't apparently wasn't invited. Like, what a bunch of nonsense! Like, you can't sell out your country like that.
If you enjoyed that clip from the Opposition Show, make sure to like, comment and share. But most importantly, head to theopposition.show and catch up on the full episode, which you can listen now for free. Or if you sign up and become a Rebel News Plus subscriber, you get full video access and all the other perks, including my Tuesday night show and full access to Rukshan and I's exclusive private extra few minutes at the end of every live broadcast, where you, as a paid sub, can actually call in and talk to us. It's a mere $8 a month for the full perks. But most of all, it helps us keep the lights on. Theopposition.show. Join the Rebel News Plus family right now.